Welcome back to Hermitcraft Season 10. It has been a little while, and you know what that means. That means that I've been scared to start a new big project. I've also been really enjoying making redstone videos and pulled a muscle in my rib, which makes it hard to be happy. I'm saying that half jokingly, but like if I laugh, excruciating pain, so I'm like medically forced to be miserable. But yes, here we are on the Hermitcraft server, and I am standing in this spot right here, which is my industrial district, which Joel has very kindly pointed out is absolutely horrifically ugly. So in today's Hermitcraft episode, we're going to be beginning my first mega building project. This obviously is like quite a big building project. It took me so long, but it's not like a big single build. Whereas this is going to be a monolithic, I'm leaving that in, a monolithic structure. And what do we need for big monolithic structures? Lots and lots of resources. So I spent a few hours gathering bits the other day. It all started with tuff. Tuff is one of those things that is tough to gather. You kind of think that because it is just a form of stone, it will be easy to get loads and loads of the stuff. You know, I can get loads of stone, I can get loads of cobblestone, I can get loads of deep slate. But tuff is actually kind of frustrating because you can only find it in pockets, you have to go out searching for them, and they're not actually as common as you would think. So I spent ages just searching around the caves down at the bottom of the world looking for tuff. And then I remembered we have an enormous hole going all the way down through the bedrock in the middle of Magic Mountain. And lo and behold, there was loads of exposed tuff, and not only that, but there was all sorts of haste beacons and things, so I was flying through and managed to get tons of the stuff. I've also gathered up a bunch of granite and also a bunch of andesite, which is going to be very, very helpful for this build. But there is one resource that we do need lots of, and that is bricks. And bricks have been consistently the hardest item to get in Minecraft since basically the start of Minecraft. You would have thought after 15 years of development and bricks being in the game for so long, there would have been an easier way to get them by now, like some kind of automated brick farm or something like that, but there kind of isn't-ish. There is a system where you can put dirt in, convert it into mud, and then push that mud over dripstone points, and then that will suck the moisture out of the mud and turn it into clay blocks, which we can then mine with a Fortune 3 shovel, and then smelt those little clay ball things into bricks, and then craft them into brick blocks. That's as easy as it gets currently. And so that is my plan for the next couple of hours. I'm going to be designing this on the Hermitcraft server. I'm not sure if that's smart or not. Oh, I also gathered loads of copper, by the way. But yeah, I like to think that this will be nice and simple, right? It's just going to be a bunch of pistons pushing all of the mud over the dripstone points. So it's like a piston feed tape that then goes into a big storage area. And eventually we will end up with a 12 by 12 by 12 area of clay, which is 1,728 clay blocks, which is exactly one shulker box full. I don't know if that's enough. I'm extremely curious. I've got a smart piston here, and I'm wondering if when I place this block, the dispenser will get powered in time to turn it into mud. No, okay. But if I slow things down the tiniest bit, then I think we might be onto a winner. So if I hold down the right click button, it's still too slow. Extra delay on the repeater? What? No way. Am I doing something wrong? Oh my goodness. Oh, it's the oldest redstone mistake in the book. Oh no. Note to editor, aka me. Cut that out. Cut it out. Right, now we should be in business. Okay, still too slow. It's a dispenser. Don't worry, it's a dispenser. I checked. There we go. Okay. No? Yes, they were just glass bottles. Okay, excellent. Oh, but then how am I going to get the glass bottles? Okay, new idea. This should hopefully work. Wow. Okay, this first part was sufficiently annoying enough that I decided to do it in my redstone testing world. Finally, I've got myself a system that works. So you can see I'm in survival mode. I'm holding down the right click button. My dirt supply is being replenished by that dropper off to the left. And all of the mud is being created, and all of the water bottles are being recycled and refilled. So essentially we're just filtering out empty water bottles. They're then going through into this dispenser down at the bottom here, which fires twice, once to refill the water bottle and once to shoot it out into the water stream. It then goes back up to the top and goes back around. It's not particularly complex, but it was complex enough that I'm glad I did this in the redstone testing world. I'm testing this with a full dropper full just to make sure, because if I AFK at this and it breaks, I'll be very upset. I'm down to the last few blocks in the drop and out. There it is. And yeah, we've had 100% success rate. No bottles are missing. Phase 1 has gone well. You all know me, I'm Peace Oven Plants for Life, and that's why I've created these new designs for the Hermitcraft Vintage Collection. Cut. Definitely cut? Yeah. I can turn the farm back on? Yeah. Now it's time for phase number 2, and to be honest, I think I'm going to do this in the testing world as well. You see, I've realised I don't really know how long it takes for our mud to turn into clay when travelling over the top of the dripstone blocks, and I wouldn't want to do it in the survival world and then get to a point where I just end up with a block of mud at the end. Like, I love mud, you know, mud's great. But if it gets to the storage facility without turning into clay, it's never going to turn into clay, so we need to make sure that we have enough time passing over dripstone for it to convert. So here we have our smart piston setup. That's all working well. Okay, well, we've already got one piece of clay. That's a good sign. No, yeah, it's quite slow, isn't it? Let's have a look. Okay. Okay. It's not that fast. Yeah, it's not that fast. I would estimate, if I was to take a guess, 3 layers. In the time it's taking me to do these 3 layers, what are we at? We might need more than 3 layers, you know. What I will say is, this looks incredibly cool. So I guess what I have to do now is hold down the right-click button and see if this last bit, the bit that is being pushed up vertically, is 100% clay. If it's not 100% clay, then I know we need another layer. And immediately, things have not exactly gone to plan. I built this one block too far over. So I rebuilt all of it, did a test, and there is loads and loads of mud within this system. So we probably need to do another 2 loops at least. Even with the 2 extra loops, we're still getting the occasional mud block, but I would say this is big enough now. So let's get to work and build this on the Hermitcraft server. I do believe our machine should now be all working correctly. I can just hold down the right click button, everything gets pushed across, all of our water bottles get filled. This is good. One thing that I do need to be very aware of is I need to make sure I don't right click in this direction, because then I can change the delay of this repeater, which breaks the system. Okay, next part of the process is getting all of the smart pistons in place. So we need 12 pistons going across like that. I meant to fall at that point, so I could give you a really good view of where the pistons needed to go, you see? Look at this. Look at this. Me being incredibly talented at placing things. It is perfect. Oh, except we might not actually have space for all the redstone. So maybe not perfect. I remember when I first discovered smart pistons. That was like the moment where I was like, yeah, this redstone stuff is useful. I genuinely almost forgot that I need to make massive platforms of vertical dripstone to make sure that we actually convert this into clay. This is where all of our vertical pistons are going to be going. Nice one. Except it's not, so I accidentally counted wrong. That would have been terrible. Just starting to realize how many pointed dripstone things I actually need for this build. So that is 1 layer completed. This is the 2nd layer completed. Now layer number 3 should all be in place. This is layer number 4, and this is layer number 5 done. So that is all of the clay pushing system completed. Now we need to make all of the clay storage area. So hopefully by this point, all of our mud has almost entirely turned into clay. So now we need to push it vertically upwards and then push it across to make a big 12 by 12 by 12 area. Or I guess I should say volume. A volume of clay. Can we first just take a moment though to appreciate how cool this thing looks? This looks ridiculously good. It's almost a shame that the reason we're building this is because we're creating a cover for this cool new looking thing. I'm just starting to realize this thing's pretty massive, isn't it? This has probably increased the size that our build has to be, because look, it stands so much taller than the other tallest thing. What on earth? I best now use loads of bricks. Like, if this build is the last time that I use an industrial quantity of bricks, I'm going to be quite upset. It's time for my monthly grumble about the prices of Tango Tech's redstone. Wait, did he just kill a chicken? Okay, all of the pistons are in. All of the lines of redstone are in. The smart piston segment is in. Now I just need to think of a smart way to actually connect up this to all of these. Problem is, there's like a bunch of ways that I could do it, but I think I'm just going to do a noodle of redstone going downwards. Despite how I am as a person, I do actually quite like my redstone to be tidy, and this does hurt my soul a little bit, but it all works. Okay, our industrial clay farm is now all complete. And at this point in time, I thought it would be a good idea to show you what sort of build I have in mind. You see, we've been gathering all of these resources and I've been getting all of these unspecified blocks, but you haven't actually seen what build I have planned for this area. So, as you can see from the screen, I have whipped out the old iPad again, and I have been doing a little bit of concept art. Recently, I went to Battersea Power Station, which is this old power station on the outskirts of London that has since been repurposed to be like a fancy shopping and living place. But back in the day, it used to be a functioning power station, and it's incredible looking. It's like this huge monolithic structure with massive chimneys, all made out of brick. And I thought it was awesome. I took a bunch of photos of it. And then I've come back and I've done some drawing of what I want the housing for my industrial district to look like. And it's very much inspired by these old industrial buildings. So we have a lot of brick, a lot of kind of layers stacking up towards a point, and then a tall section running up into large chimneys. And those chimneys I'm just going to fill with smokers and things so they're pouring out smoke at all times. And then around the bottom, I thought we would have all of the storage silos for all of the items from the industrial district. So that's where I'm actually going to access all of the items. So I should never have to really go inside. And then off to the left-hand side, I want to have all of the power infrastructure for the build itself. Oh, and my current working title for the name of this is Surplus Supplies. And you best believe I'm going to be making all sorts of logos and corporate rubbish to do with that. I genuinely might make like a promotional pen. Like, that's just the stupidest stuff. I'll just order it all for myself. Oh, that actually genuinely reminds me. Vintage collection of Mumbo merchandise is up for sale. Going back through old seasons with some fresh designs and things. It's probably getting to the point now where if you want it before Christmas, you're going to have to order very, very soon. I'm adding just one final finishing touch to this farm, which is an off switch. It will detect when it is full and turn itself off. It's even going to have an alarm which tells me when it's full, so then I can immediately get to harvesting. Note block should definitely have a GUI. It is time for the first run. If all is going well, all I should have to do is hold down the right click button, and everything should be done for me. Very good signs. Okay, I almost forgot to remove these. That would have broken everything. But this is also good. We have got some mud turning into clay. And this is probably one of the most satisfying sounding machines I've ever used in my entire life. Confident my machine was working, I thought this would work well as a time lapse. And I was correct because this is incredibly satisfying. The machine is working. There was one minor issue with the piston feed tapes that I was able to fix quickly. Other than that, everything is functioning. All of the mud is being passed through the system. It's being converted into clay. And we're getting ourselves a block of blocks that I am then able to mine. The only issue is the yield for the first run was pretty low. I would say it was about 60% clay, 40% mud, which is kind of disastrous. But I went through all of it knowing that the second yield would be better. Because obviously, as I'm clearing out all of the clay from the top, all of the mud in the system is still over the pointed dripstone. It's still being converted into clay. So then when I pass that through into the mining area, there's a significantly higher ratio of clay blocks, which is fantastic. And we now have absolutely tons of the stuff, which I have now passed through into my super smelter. And we have been left with this and this. And this. I don't think I've ever seen so many bricks in my entire life. This is the most bricks I've ever had. So despite it being an absolutely enormous faff to construct, it has been successful. The machine works. And it does mean we now have an easy source of bricks for the future. And it was at this moment that Cupfan came over to discuss my remaining permits. Oh my goodness. Wow, you've got... At last I checked... Yeah, you only had the single bell.
We got three now.
Yeah, and an organ. How do you even store that in your pockets? That's insane.
I believe you have the bookshelf one, but I have to say, you have been a great example of somebody who's really taken the shop building to the next level. Like, the iron shop is great. The
Thank you.
Item frame shop is great.
Thank you.
The wart shop. There was a wart shop just popped up over there. That was you and Green, correct?
Yeah. So I'm doing pretty well on that front. And look, I actually just want it known. See, outside the front of my iron shop, you are actually included in one of the protesters, but I've just had
Yes.
verbal confirmation that you like my shop.
Yes, I do like the shop. I don't like the noise, though.
Oh,
Don't
my
like the
goodness.
noise.
So you said
do you have the
bookshelves.
bookshelf? Do you have the bookshelf permit
I mean, I think so.
on you?
Oh my goodness.
Oh,
Yeah,
there
you
he
have to
goes.
kind of watch out for the some of the holes around here. I mean, somebody exploded
This
some of the
seems like a rough first step when you get into the shop.
yeah,
you
it's
know?
a bit of a problem. I think it's in. Oh. Okay. It's not in my ender chest. This is going to be interesting. Did I put it in with my valuable items? What happens if somebody's lost their permit? I mean, is that
This is a problem. Yeah, this might be a problem.
okay? All right.
Did you perhaps trade it to somebody?
No, definitely not.
Okay,
No, but I
didn't trade it.
To be
Okay.
honest, I completely forgot I had the bookshelves permit until literally today. This is interesting.
Maybe in the ender chest, perhaps.
You know, yeah, I've looked in the ender chest, so that is
Okay, you
that's
looked in there
curious.
already. All right.
But what I will say is,
Interesting.
so this is this is where miscellaneous items go. So this is all the items that haven't been sorted by my sorting system.
Aha.
Which, yes, yes.
It's in there.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, there it is. Wow.
Right, yeah, you can have it.
That one was a journey. That one
Oh
was a
my
journey.
goodness, yeah. Jill and Bills has given up the bookshelves permit. I do not care for it in the slightest. Who needs
Okay.
bookshelves? Now it's time to continue our mega build resource gathering mission. I thought I'd throw some of this mossy stone brick stuff into the mix for the bottom section of the build, because I think the rough color scheme is probably going to be like deep slate right at the very bottom, and then is going to transition into tough with little areas of mossy stone bricks, and then we're going to go into the more bricky area. We're going to have bricks, granite, terracotta, and probably mangrove. Then for the storage silos at the front, I actually think I want to make them white. I think I want them to be like faded white, so it's going to be almost a bit like this. The bone blocks, the mushroom, andesite, and whatever this stuff is. I know I call diorite andesite, but that's fine. That is going to be really, really expensive though. I'm going to ignore that for the time being. I'm going to focus on gathering up a shulker box worth of terracotta and a shulker box worth of mangrove. Can I get myself hit by this wind charge? Where is it going and where has it come from? It seems to be traveling off into the distance. Wait, did it just disappear? That was a good use of my rockets. Sort of wish I'd brought a beacon with me. I don't know, actually. There's something quite satisfying about taking it slow and just enjoying the gradual pitter-patter of blocks falling onto the ground. That's what I'm telling myself anyway. Progress is progressing. And now I finally have myself a full shulker box of terracotta, and this place has never been the same. So we continue forth off into the distance. I believe there is a mangrove forest somewhere off in this direction. The mangrove biome is a crazy biome, isn't it? If you actually look at it, this is nuts. I'm also remembering how frustrating it is to actually get mangrove wood. These trees are such a pain. The good thing is, I think I only really need a shulker box of planks. I can't imagine I'm going to use too many logs. Maybe 2 or 3 stacks of the strip logs. The rest of them will be planks. Just because I think the planks, texture-wise, go better with things like bricks. They're closer in texture. I'm happy with this. I'm happy with this quantity. It is time for us to head home. And at this point, I was feeling pretty knackered and I was planning on going to bed, but then I opened Adobe Illustrator and spent like 5 hours trying to think of a logo for Surplus, our industrial megacorp. And these are the finals that I came to. I do really like this one, but it looks more like a microbrewery that is opened in an old abandoned factory. Look, I've proven the point. That is right at home there. This is way too hipstery. So we've gone for this. We've got the plus, we've got the S in there as well. It's quite minimal, but it is chunky. Feels like something that would produce a lot of stuff. I've also started doing some business card drafts. With this structure being so absolutely massive, I want to have lots of world building built up around it, so all of my choices are motivated. And because honestly, I find it incredibly fun. Now I am going to perform a life hack on myself. Because here's the deal, all right? I am scared. I am scared to start this build. This is going to be huge. It's one of the first times I've done like a detailed big build. It's like mixing old style and this new style as well. I'm terrified. And I know that if I don't place a block today, then I am going to put off starting this thing. Whereas if I just place a block and then place a bunch of blocks and just start placing blocks right now, in this moment, like this is it, then I have something to begin with. And then in the next episode, when it comes to actually constructing the entire thing, I'm not going to fanny about for like 4 days, hopping around on the server, not knowing where to start. So this is the outline of the bottom of Surplus. This is how big the bottom of the factory is going to be. Okay, cool. And then it is going to ramp up like this, and then go up there. I'm just checking actually how big this thing is. So I started with 62 blocks, and I'm doing a line of blocks. My goodness. It's 65. Okay, so for every layer of this build, it is a minimum of a stack of blocks. Right, I'm starting to doubt the size of my chest monster. I'm going to need more bricks. So I've worked out the center of the build. It's hurting my head a little bit because the farms are of course pushed over slightly to the right to make way for all of the redstone and the storage stuff. But that is the midpoint. Now in terms of storage silos, currently we have 4 different types of items. So that would mean that we'd have 4 out the front. But I might build 5 just in case we need it for the future. So then we're going to have all of the industrial bits over on this side. We're going to have things like vehicles for transporting items with branding on the side of them and things like that. And then all of the river edge will probably look a little bit worse for wear. And then over on this side, we're going to have all of the electrical stuff and the power bits that in theory are powering the factory. So there's going to be all sorts of big pipes and big electrical cables going into the side of it with transformers and things. All of this space is going to be terraformed, and eventually this side of the river and this side of the river should look like one build all merged together. And I'm going to set myself a personal goal of getting the factory building up by the end of this week.